is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news and intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversations. 96.9 FM. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of Guardian Radio.
La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. I represent Bahamian people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Dayton, bro. Where I from Dayton, bro. Right between West and Augusta, where them two roads meet, they call it Wilkinson Street. Manners and respect was like a sign blank check. It seems the ones that coming after quick to disrespect. You see, this life in the ghetto never easy. So many hungry days break till it grieve me. Way I doing the best I can, trying to turn my dollar to 100 grand. I represent the ghetto people. I from Nassau, Bahamas, big up Dayton, bro. Where I from Dayton, bro. Don't take no back talk, no bribe or no joke. If you find fire, you definitely find smoke. Dayton, bro. Where I from Dayton, bro. Dayton, I say up and running.
Good night, Bahamas. And welcome to another edition of Inside the Inner City that premieres every Friday at 6:30 to 8 p.m. on Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. I am your host, Valentino, a.k.a. Scrooge, Scrooge or Scrooge, MP, JP, Governor. So many names have been given to me over the years because people just find a way of giving you a name. And that's a sign of respect. I'd like to thank each and every one of you who call in every week and those who listen to the platform. You guys making the show very interesting, knowing that a lot of people are listening, a lot of people are taking ideas, a lot of people are actually getting a lot of information on how to deal with certain matters when it comes to crime, when it comes to solution, when it comes to how we think towards government, what we want from government, what we should do as citizens, not just to wait on government, sit idly by and wait on government. So I'm quite intrigued. Many people how I should put it in certain ways, meeting me, they really appreciate me. I appreciate you guys. Like they say, self-recommendation is not something I was ever looking for. But to all of the individuals and Bahamian people and people from around the world who I know, and those who I just meet, I'm really, really appreciative of each and every one of you that they're saying that we're seeing what a Bahamian person means, an individual who really is giving us all to make a difference in this country. Being honest, even speaking about himself, so that those who are listening can learn from the past experiences so that they can think, all those who not feeling, this is the repercussion that is going to happen to you. And I'm just happy to be able to have that experience, but also have the knowledge on how we can correct it. And it's just an honor to be here on Guardian Radio, and it's an honor to be here every Friday to talk to you guys, and then you give me some good response, and then just great. Again, it's a pleasure to be a host tonight on Guardian Radio 96.9. Again, Valentino Brown, host of the talk show Inside the Inner City. Today's show, we're going to have a little mix-up show today. We're going to talk about some of the programs that government are doing to ease the burden of the Bahamian people. I know it's close to election, but nevertheless, I just want to discuss it real quick. And then we would talk about global warming. I want to give my little 2 cents on global warming, since the Prime Minister's talking about global warming the last few months. And then people like 52 and Graham Medford, who has a lot of knowledge on this, I hope they're listening. Maybe they could join the conversation, and maybe we can see how we can save not only the Bahamas, but the world because of the effects of carbon emissions that are actually man-made that are causing the so-called global warming. It's man-made because of our disregard and respect for the earth, Mother Earth, and we're polluting it. And the pollution is just, it's going to fight back. And they say man is going to be destroyers of themselves, and that's exactly what we're doing. Most of these problems we're facing today is what has been created because of man and their greed and their stupidity, not following the laws of nature. So again, I just want to kick off the show. I want to give a shout out to my friend Elroy Bryce. That's my big brethren, the brethren in the community. And I also want to give a shout out to, one second, got it right, Joe. Shout out to, okay, sorry about that. Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay. Yeah, so like I said, I gotta give a shout out later on in the show. I just wanna piggyback on last week on the show that I talked about some interesting topics last week, especially dealing with my personal life and concerning some of the things that I was involved with when I was growing up, and it's still relevant today. And I just want to let the general public that, and all the information and experience they shared on this radio, it's to let those out there with a type of background right now in this time, that this is the repercussion that is going to happen to you if you live this life. If you live this life the way you're living it, and you're careless with your life, and you're harming people, regardless, one day, if you don't change your ways and the Father bless you, guide you, and protect you, if you change your ways, you yourself will become a victim in this country. It's evident. And you can't say not one time that you've listened to me, have you ever heard what I did. Every time you heard where I've been running for my life or someone being shooting at me. See, a lot of people want to just talk, but then they're not listening to the message that I'm sending to guys out there. I'm saying to them, like, brother, I've been in gang warfare going on 12 years straight before I became a drug dealer, gangster. Then I became a drug dealer for like 10 years. I've been in the gang like 12 years, and I get out of the gang, and I started to maneuver myself to be a drug dealer. So there's a lot I could explain to you in a 22-year span that happened over my life. And then I became a bystander as a drug dealer with the next generation who we trained, who became ruthless. And it just go from there and from there. So it's like a passing on the torch that happens in these communities. So I use my past experience to let them know, hey, you're bad, right? But there's a price to pay when you're bad. Because in all the times that I've been involved in violent crimes, which I was always involved with, over the 20-something times that I was shot at, only about 5 or 6 times or 7 times I was able to return fire. So what I'm saying to you, don't care how bad you is, you're always going to get caught slipping. And you're always going to put your family members at risk when guys come looking for you to your home, or someone one of these guys lend you their car, or you give them a ride, or they know their girlfriend, or you're going to visit your grandmother's house, or, someone just said, let me give you a ride, and guys target you, and etc. That's all a part of it. So my message is, when I use my past experience, is not to justify or to say that I was big and bad. No. If you listen to the message, I'm saying that if you live this life, and the more enemies you create, each one of those enemies will come after you. in your time of being a top gangster or gangster. And one day, one of those guys will catch up to you or hurt somebody in your family. Even though you're a guy with the pulling the trigger, even though you're a top killer or robber or drug dealer or whatever it is that you call yourself, one day, someone is going to take a chance at your life. Maybe more than once. So that's the message I be preaching. I don't be preaching no message where you're looking at me. You think I want to come on this radio and talk about my past life, right? Knowing there are people out there who would criticize you, which I really don't care, because what I'm doing is I'm using my past experience and the experience of all other guys who shot at me, who were just like me, to let the guys in this generation know that there's still people just like that in their generation, and if they keep it up, one of those guys are going to get them to the best option you have. Knowing that you have a family, knowing that you have a child, knowing that you have a responsibility as a man, is to try change your ways and change your life before you cause yourself in the grave or cause your family member or your mother to be spending all the money around court trying to look for a lawyer for you, or to cause your mom or your daddy to go look for your funeral bill after you get killed, because even though you're on the road, you're a top killer or you're a top shooter or whatever the situation you is, you're still broke. You don't have no future. So eventually, you're gonna start to figure out in your mind that people don't respect you. Then you start to doubt yourself. And when you start to doubt yourself, all that you've done as a bad boy starts to resonate in your mind. And it starts to speak to you. You know, and then you want to get out. Before I go to my next topic, I'm going to leave this with each and every one of you out there. And you could always ask my friend Marv about this. Before Samuel Mouche McKinney got killed, he was shot 15 times. He got shot with 2 handguns, 240 handguns, okay? Before he passed away, he came by me, and DSTNC asked me, because I brought him in the game. We came up together, but I was always on the streets before these guys, okay? I was on the streets because my mom and dad were known in the community, so I was like 5, 6, I was 6, 7, I was up and down the road. Everyone came to me and took me about the streets, so I experienced a lot of stuff, being around the Capitol Theater, and a lot of stuff I witnessed, okay? So before he got killed, it's like kind of about 8 months before he got killed, he had his court case coming up, and he said to me, he come by me, my son was just about 6, 7 months, my son 18 now. So he came to me and he said to me, big brother, how you get out, okay? That's what he asking me now, because he was trying to figure out how I was able to become a community leader. Even though I was a top gangster who also led him until he took over eventually. You know, because like I say, it goes hand to hand, you know. It'd be me now, it'd be me and Chucky, it'd be me and Nelson, or Chucky, and then it goes to Eyes, then it goes to Elroy Bryce, and then it goes from Elroy Bryce to some young guy who ran up in the area who take the ram from one of us, and that's how I keep on passing on in the community, you know, from leaders to leaders to leaders to leaders to leaders to leaders. So he said to me how I get out. So I said, I mean, I get out now. At this time I was selling drugs, but I stopped gangbanging and I stopped keeping company. So I said to him, how I get out? And excuse my language, I said, the hell with you. I said, the hell with Chucky. I said, the hell with you all. I said, the hell with you guys, okay? We outgrow one another. Now we starting to hate on one another because we trying to figure out who is the baddest. And this name thing, it started to become a problem now, because this one's serious and this one saying he's more serious than this one. And, you know, you get the ego now. So this ain't for me, because I ain't that I don't want to compete against my friends. That's why I was the first one to get out of the gang, because I see where this was headed. So I said, when I see this happen, I said, the hell with y'all, Mouche. And I said, you see what I did? I went to Lewis Street and I locked down Lewis Street. And I started to sell my drugs. Now listen to me, I may be saying this is not to promote no drugs. This is not to promote no gangs. This is to talk about how I was able to change my life based on the circumstances that happened in my community. Okay? These are the kind of choices we had. So anyway, I said that to him. And I say, you know what your problem is? I say, all the problems I got in me, and I want the general public to hear this, all the problems I got in was because of my friends. And all the enemies I got in my life was because the enemies that my friends had was not my enemies. But since I go on and help fight for them, those guys say they didn't have no problem with me. But when I go on and help Mouge, or I go help Ewell, or I go help one of them, nah, the guy ain't too checking for them. They won't get me because me and them was cool. So that's how I get a lot of enemies. That's why so much people take shots so much at me, because I was involved in so many different incidents, because my friend having a problem with somebody in the club or on the streets, I interfere. So I told him this, and I said that your problem is every time someone come to you and say something to you about somebody, you so big and bad, you jumping up and you go in. And now you create more enemies. So the message is this, what I always preach. The message is simple as this. The more you go there and you create enemies, I don't care how bad you is, hey? I don't care how much people you kill or how much people you think you want to kill, hey? There is someone out there in the Bahamas or in the world one day will take you out. Simple as that. But you have a chance to change your life. Understand this, that there's 100 murders per year, and you ain't the one who did these 100 murders. Okay? That's what I tell all the guys in the streets now. When they think they hard, I say, you kill 100 people? You kill 100 people last year? I say, man, you might have killed one or two. But you're sure you ain't kill 100. So what that means? That means that you yourself can be a victim if you keep on messing around. So that's my message. That's what I come on the show. That's what I use my experience for. Okay? I let you know that even though I was the top guy on the streets, there are other guys out there who mean business just like how we mean business. And when it comes, at the end of the day, you know what it comes down to? You can't win it. You can't beat the police, and you can't beat the streets. There's no bad boy in this country. I don't care who you is that can run the streets. Ain't happening. If you think you could run the streets, you might run the streets for 1 or 2 years, 3 years. But the streets just get paved every 5 years. Huh? So you know what that means? Things change. There's nobody is going to run the streets. We try. That's why I give up. We had a gang. We had a big gang. What happened? Guys get other gangs too. What happened? We can't call them? No. We had to ease up, or be in your grave, or be in jail. So that's the message I send out there. If you think you're big and bad out there, there's someone out there, big and bad, will take you out if you don't change your life. And if you continue to do badness, when you're driving around in your car, when you want to be relaxed, riding around with your family and you hurt people out there, guys not plotting on you. And when you're riding with your daughter, when you're riding with your mom, when you're riding with your sisters, they will attack you. And I don't think they intentionally want to hurt your sister or hurt your mom. It's just the fact that they're so hard to get you, because you hurt somebody, you kill somebody, you shoot somebody, mother, you shoot someone's brother, you shoot someone's sister. So just the way how you was mad when you was rolling around with your friends and y'all all arm up and y'all did what y'all did, that's come right back around. And that's when I figured out. That's when I figured out, people. When I say, hold on. Every time I go there and I get in this fight, there's retaliation. But when I don't get no fight, there's no retaliation. So that's when I figured out. So that's the message I use this platform for. That's the message. I always say how much time I got shot at. That shows you I'm trying to send a message to the guys out there that as long as you in that life, that coming for you. I just was lucky because God blessed me. He protected me from jail, from all those enemies out there that I created, me and my friends have created, because we was misguided. We didn't have opportunities. Besides what our grandmothers gave us, but outside that, in the inner city community, there was no one there teaching us basically what's right and what's wrong, and give us a chance to explore our options. So we use our other traits, and that was violence. So that's my message out there. So anyone listening to me, that was my message for my came on the show. I don't do this for no recognition. I don't do this for no badness. I do this to let those out there who are involved in these violent crimes in the country, that if you don't stop or think before you do these things, there's repercussions. Okay? Yeah. So I just want to get the message out there. Right now in my life, I am one of the most humblest citizens in the country. I'm one of the most kindest. I am one of the most active in the country. And I work in my community, where I'm cleaning the community on a daily basis and trying to find solutions for my community's problems by bringing small businesses in the community. So that's what I want the younger guys out there to know, that you could change your life. You could come from a rough past, but you could change around your life to become someone very productive in the Bahamas. You know, look at Vibe Cartel. You know, we had a caller last week, and he talked about Vibe Cartel. And I said the same thing in the interview with Clint Watson. Vibe Cartel said the same thing. He said, man, I had my past, and now, you know, I am a different person. I'm preaching love and unity and strength. Because people like that who come from a past, now that they change their life around of being given a different second or third opportunity, they're not going to mess it up. You know? They pride themselves on becoming model citizen, and that's what I pride myself on, becoming a model citizen. But I have a past, and I use my past to address the country's youth on the repercussion of a life of violent crime, and what is going to be the consequences for those individuals who think they might get away with it when they kill somebody, or an act of killing somebody. And if they continue, and if they get away with it right there, right, and they continue down that path, then one day, just like how they pull the trigger on that Bahamian mother, father, grandmother, child, brother, sister, or cousin, then one day, just how the people mourning and crying for their loved one, and one day your loved one's going to be mourning and groaning for you the same way. Yeah. So I just want to send a message out there. You know, for me, you know, I don't like to talk about my past, but the past is just like yesterday in today's society, because we have failed to address the problem by empowering, you know, investing in small business and homes and etc. So I just wanted to say that. You know, we got a caller. Now we're going to our topic today. I just want to play this thing, but we got a caller. I'll accept this call now to talk about. They might want to respond to what I just said earlier on the show, and then I'll go to my topic. Go ahead, caller. You're on Inside in the City on Guardian Radio.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, sir.
What's going on with you, my brother?
Everything good, sir.
And the whole situation is what you were saying.
Yes, sir.
You know, I live that. It's Larry.
Larry. And Mason?
Yes, sir.
All right, we say Coakley?
Yes, sir.
All right, Coakley. What's up? Bless up.
Yes, sir. Man, hey, I live that. That right there, what you talking about? You know, we all know what our life is all about. You know, and the youth nowadays, the big problem about them is at least you had something to lean back on. A lot of them didn't even have the basic education to lean back on because they had no interest in their education. And so now a lot of them don't want the minimum wages, so that's why you see the life is going to be the way it is. You know, and when you say you stop living that lifestyle, society don't just forgive you overnight, as you know.
Yes.
You know, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of work. You know? But right now, in the youths in our neighborhood, what we need some sporting programs for them. Even if it's just car racing, get somebody who, like mechanic, whatever, to do something like that. Whatever it is, we got to do that because the idle time creates a problem. You know?
I feel you, brother.
And no matter what we say now, they, you know the life experience. You got to see that.
Yes, they have to go through it.
Right.
They got to experience for themselves.
Yeah. So you got to show them what it is, how to live this now.
Yes.
You know? I know what it is that sometimes you go and say, okay, I'm going to do a little course to try to better myself, whatever. When you go and you do the course, right? The instructor, when you tell them where you live, they don't figure you as a person who ain't got it all about. All right? But academically, I had it all. And it surprised all of them. You know?
Yes.
But you can't convert that into real life, today life. That's the most difficult part. How many people you like to try to find jobs for every day? That number,
Well,
you can't even think of the number.
I wouldn't want to answer that, brother.
Okay.
I don't want to answer that. I can tell you.
They come and they look for a job from you, and they know you don't really have it. You have to try to refer them to somebody, and just
Well,
you know?
yes.
You know?
That's why
And
I thought.
like you said,
That's why I thought.
our little money, we divided between us and them.
Yes.
To try to provide for them.
Yes.
You know, the outside people who just outside looking in, what they need to do when they come say they're going to try to do something for the neighborhood. Don't bring somebody to a point to do this. Find someone in the neighborhood who's already doing it.
Yes. And
You know?
invest.
And let that person continue doing what they've been doing. But when they come, they bring somebody who only there because they was appointed or whatever. The people who are the society, the community, feeling them. You know.
Yes.
So it comes a revolving problem.
Yes. Hey, Larry. Hey, Larry.
Yes, sir.
You know, you live about 2 corners away from Chief.
Yeah.
You know, it's called Marvin Bodie Chief. So,
Yeah.
and that was my arch rivalry many years ago. So from time to time, I used to go and hail him, you know. So I was quite amazed, you know. I mean, I know he was doing a little while, but to be in his position, right? And many people might criticize him and stuff like that. Larry, I go on there and I hail him. This is about 3 months ago, you know, because he's listening to the show. So I went and I sat down, you know, me, him, and Blipper, my friend Darren. And I watch Marvin Bodie, who the police go sometimes to raid. I watch about 50, 60 kids just go to this guy, and this guy gave them $5 and $6 and $10. I mean, like, in this one day. So these things, like, you know, I'm just saying, you know, it's strange. Like, the people who we don't think is help, who we think bad or whatever, you know, you understand what I'm saying?
Man, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know Marvin very well. And a lot of people will never know. He took care of his family, you know.
Yes,
no matter what.
Yes.
Always did. Always do.
Yes.
Okay? See, a lot of these guys, they don't even take care of their family, man. You know, that's be the problem. You know, I gone down the road with mine. You know? So, you know, and this thing here, the kids, you know what it is for someone to come to you in their 50s, 60s, and say, oh, mister, I know you don't remember me, but you was the one who saved me when this one or that one tried to do this or that to me. You may can't even recall.
Yeah.
Okay? But the person who was trying to do something to them will come back there and say, yeah, man, I remember that, man, Larry's one or this one or that one, stop that. But the way how we have the system as for the people appointed by government or some government official or whatever, as everybody try to do, that ain't going to work. That'll never work.
No, that's why we're moving so slow. We can't make the changes.
Yes.
Even though we have the, even though we have solutions and we have the resources, we can't make that jump to really make a dent in crime because, like you said, we're not empowering the right set of people to make that connection in these inner city communities.
Yes, sir. Mind you, and there's some good police officers there, you know. And we know some of the neighborhoods or whatever who we knew through our time and living life. All right? But they're also limited.
Yeah.
You know?
So us as citizens got to be the ones responsible along with the police, because we are the police ourselves. That's what people don't understand. You know, the citizens are police themselves. Why didn't they say citizen arrest? Y'all hear to say, listen, y'all people listen to me. Why do you think they say the citizen arrest? You know, as a citizen, I can lock somebody on the road who toting a firearm if I hold him and apprehend him.
Yes.
So people don't understand. I can hold a thief, a rape, or murder, or anything that goes on. That's a citizen arrest. We are police ourselves, you know.
Mister, do you realize that just our presence alone is police in our neighborhood?
That's right. Because the kids who rude and stuff like the road throwing bottle, when they hear a voice, stop throwing that. They stop.
Yeah,
You understand?
All right.
Okay.
When the outsiders come around, he said, look here, it's over. Cat up to another block. They gone.
They gone. So we are, yes.
You know, but a lot of this thing here will never be known by the people or officials out there because they're out there looking down in here. You know, and their view is like an eagle's view. They're way up there. They don't have no vantage point of what we have right here. You know?
Yeah.
But me or you trying to tell them now, they ain't going to work. Because they telling us. In the next couple of months or so, some people come on and try to tell us how it's going to go and who they want us to go with. And then now it's another problem. Mm-hmm. They come with a new agenda, apart from what was going on prior to this. You know? So how do we make the paradigm shift and now go their way? And it's more, instead of going forward, you're going like sideways. And, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, it's not all lost, you know.
No.
There's many people unheard of and unsaid and unmentioned who doing the same thing in their neighborhood and other areas.
Yes, it takes citizens to...
Yeah, but that's what it is. It's going to take the citizens, people who here who already been through the trenches, who already done it. You know?
Yeah.
But one of these days, you know, me and you got to sit down and...
Yeah,
we got a sporting community to put together for our neighborhood. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, we need to bring that back, the sporting program. Maybe we could buy Mason and HQ, like how we got the basketball tournament they did a few years back.
Well, guess what? I got a basketball thing we can work on, okay? So
okay.
Come by me. I will relink up by next week, and we'll get something off the ground.
Yeah, it'll be better next week because, you know, the week done short and both of us can have some fun. This the weekend.
Yeah, we probably meet up and we go from there.
Okay,
I got a basketball link. I got a club. I got access to places for people to go and for coaches to train, whatever. I got access to them people.
Okay, my brother, man. Because you was a leader in that part of the community as well, you know. And thanks for the word of advice and, you know, thanks for the input for the general public to listen to what you said. You know, the kids them need a sports program year round in this park, and that's what we've been preaching to keep them preoccupied. As well as small business and cleaning up the community with home repairs.
That's what they need to do. We have the motocross thing down there. It's supposed to be for car racing, whatever.
Yeah.
Get a little motor club. Okay, you saying this and that. You got your little area. You'll get one of those car. Let somebody donate some cars, whatever. Let them try to make it to be what it is. And let's be down there and race.
All
you
right.
have a softball team. You saying you saw this and that. And I say, get your softball team. Meet me on the park this way, that way.
All right.
You got your volleyball team. They're also good. You'll meet me on the court this way. That's how I got it. That's how we used to do it.
Larry, before you go, answer this for me, and I put words in your mouth. Right now on the streets, walking around right now, are there adults teaching kids on the park? Are there adults standing on the side of the road talking to the kids right now as we speak? Or are there just kids walking around doing what they want to do as we speak right now on this radio?
The latter as you speak. Kids just walking around. Just walking around, meandering around aimlessly. And, you know, you always got a little bully here and they're trying to distort this area with this little crew here. But that's what we're seeing.
Boys and girls?
Boys and girls.
What's some of the girls doing with the boys? Don't answer. Okay.
You know what happened in there.
Y'all, what I saying, people. So people got time to be pointing the finger, right? This is live information for our leaders and people around the world to hear what's going on in our country right now. And this is going on around in the inner city community. And this would lead to a life of crime.
You know? So everybody wants things. They're thinking materialistically.
Mm-hmm.
And economy, the minimum wage, don't match up to their dreams.
Yeah.
So hence it's a problem.
Mm.
You know?
Yes.
But like I say, we have to try to get them to at least communicate first.
Yes.
They ain't communicating. They shouting and talking at each other. You got to get them to communicate first.
Yes.
Because some of them may be good mechanics, you know.
Yeah.
Some of them may be good good carpenters and stuff, but they may not even live that long to become that.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And the thing is, you don't have to do nobody nothing nowadays because, like, again, a guy who was known to be involved with crime come around, who just see a friend who was a car mechanic, you know, he stop here and guys see him and the car mechanic, they're ready to fix the car. And, you know, guys just pull up and, you know, that's the end of him.
Okay, then.
Or playing dumb, you know, because these same individuals want hang around, they want harbor around because they bored themselves, even though they have their gun on them. But they see people who are not involved in their field. But it's a community, and we as citizens don't say, boy, look at you hot. Don't hang up here. because we still look at him. We know he is a problem child, but we still would take a chance and not say nothing until something happened tragic.
Because it's always a window for them to turn around, a window for them to have an opportunity to. But in reality, as I see it, we have glass ceilings, we got glass floors, we got glass walls, we got glass doors. We make it see some things, but we can never get there.
Yes. That's true. Anyway, thank you, man.
Yeah, you take care and we'll get together this week.
Yeah, man, brother. Yeah, that's Larry Coakley. He's a Mason Dixon community leader. Lives through Bear Grand Corner. And like I said, we could talk here all day. I'm only telling you on the airwaves and telling the authorities and telling the pastors and stuff like that. We're talking about crime and we're talking about all this stuff. But it's just starting over and over and over and over again. So you're going to have guys like us who are that kind of past keep on coming up in the country. And then we keep on having this 100 murders. And we keep on having teenage pregnancy because the young girls are out there right now in these abandoned houses and they having unprotected sex. We have a high sex statistics where we have a lot of sexually transmitted disease is in the increase now from the age of from 16 to the age of 26 or 27. Okay? So we also need sex education. But this is because a lot of these kids are actually becoming men and women too early because they're not being mentored properly, because the areas that they live in is not areas for them to actually flourish in because they don't have the tools, the community centers, the scholarships, the small businesses, agriculture program, trade programs, and etc. And that's when we're going to have to invest in. But anyway, that's the first half of the show. I just want to address why I talk about my past. What is the reason I talk about my past? To show the guys out there who are bad, that even though you're bad, that there are guys out there just like you, and you're not going to win. One day, it would be your time for you to be shown on the news with yellow tape. Just like how you put other people down with yellow tape, there'll be a time one day if you don't change your ways. Okay? Chris, we could play that clip. We're going to some of the good things that government are doing, then we're going to talk a little bit of global warming. Just because I don't want to talk about a topic all day. You ready, Chris? Go ahead.
Store called A Little Bit of Everything in Sandilands Village. She says she has seen the cost of items double in recent years, sparking complaints from customers.
The economy has changed drastically. So because of the change of the economy and prices have gone up drastically, about double the cost from when I started, I have a lot of complaints sometimes about the high cost of business prices, but it was a breath of fresh air today to have the Prime Minister come here and say that he's implementing sources where we can get cheaper items to a better supply persons, because it's a bit rough.
Anthony Wallace, who is a chef at Nishmark's convenience store, can relate. He says the small business in Fox Hill has also felt the effects of rising costs.
Just hope that we could accomplish some stuff. Him visiting the urban stores, try to hopefully get some resolution to the high costs that we incurred as store owners in the urban areas.
Any other concerns you want to discuss with the Prime Minister today?
Well, the concerns are basically of all store owners. We want to know exactly what's going to happen in terms of the overall rise in prices everywhere. How are we going to, as the administration, going to address that and try and combat that to make sure that store owners and consumers, especially the customers, could be able to get better prices.
Prime Minister Philip Davis toured several convenience stores across eastern New Providence on Thursday to discuss his administration's efforts to alleviate the burden caused by high prices.
A lot of people don't know that most of the meat that we use in this country comes from Brazil, but come through American third-party intermediaries. So we want to assist stores like you in getting products, meat products, protein products, direct from Brazil.
You buy this from?
From ACH Purchase.
ACH Purchase.
And when I first started the business, this was about $30-something. This is now almost $70 a case.
A case.
Wow. Yeah, at ACH Purchase.
And so what we're trying to do is
so we bring it in so you can go back to sell.
Exactly. So we want you to go directly to Brazil to get corned beef and other beef, pork, poultry to basically slash the price and pass that cost savings on to your consumers' hand in
Of course, I all for that.
This visit comes as Caribbean businesses and lawmakers are putting together a plan to defend the region amid a trade action proposal by the United States Trade Representative, which will impose a port fee of $1 million per port call on any Chinese-built vessel calling at U.S. ports. Davis says their aim is to lower the cost of purchases.
The merchants they buy from, the ship that brings the food in, the port it lands at, are all in the same conglomerate. And that, in our view, is a monopoly. And so we're discussing with them, and we are implementing a program we call a Trade Diversification Program for Affordable Food, where we are getting a number of convenience stores such as this one to combine together to do bulk purchases from new trade centers. So, for example, in Latin America, and then bringing them direct to the Bahamas.
He added the first shipment is expected in a few weeks.
This is what we're attempting to do, and this is the pilot program. We're piloting it for the first time to see how it works. We're sourcing from a new source market to see how we can get the products here to these stores.
The government will also cut the rate of value-added tax on unprepared food from 10% to 5% on April 1st. The Prime Minister addressed concerns that some businesses may attempt to hike up their prices before the VAT cut takes effect.
We have put in place a very robust inspection program led by Senator Randy Roll, and he's been visiting stores and has been visiting stores over the last several months, looking at prices, and he'll be ensuring and looking at why or if the savings that we intend to be for our people meet the benefit from that savings and is passed on.
Davis was asked if consumers can expect further VAT reductions in the coming months.
We don't know. It depends on our fiscal standing. Whatever the Bahamian people have been working with me in an extraordinary way, and the reward for that work is my ability to cut VAT on food by 5%. If we continue to work as we have been working together, likely cuts will be imminent.
Orlando Brown, who runs Smart Choice Convenience Store and Takeaway in Fox Hill, welcomed the government's efforts to assist small business owners.
Yes, I appreciate it. I appreciate them to know what's going on in the over the hill areas.
Reporting for the Guardian News Network, I'm Vonique Toot.
Yeah, and also person who looking to improve the lives of the inner city people and people around the country, give them an opportunity to take advantage of the opportunities. I always talk about small business, and I applaud the government. This is one of the initiatives they're doing. They call it a pilot project. And this is what we're supposed to be thinking from a long, long time ago. There was just a courier company, I don't think it's FedEx, but 3 months ago, and they was giving Bahamians a great deal. If they spend certain money, they would ship their products here at a very cheap price. And they changed the market. It gives you options now. Now you could go direct. Amazon. It was Amazon. Here with the Bahamas, right. Now Bahamians are going direct and buying their phones, and people are starting a small business, their TVs directly, and they get them shipped here at a considerable low price. So I want to encourage who are in, DHL, right, with Amazon, right, DHL, yeah. And this is the same thing that the government is doing now, because DHL made a proposal to the company they have over here. And now many people are going direct. And if you listen, you would see where the Chamber of Commerce comment on it, and they're saying, and the Bahamas government comment on it, and they're saying that Bahamian people got to be more creative. In other words, the cause of infiltration is because of what's going on around the world now. This is war. See, there's different type of war. People think there's just about bombs and stuff like that. No, there's financial war, there's food war, you understand? Like what's going on in Ukraine, that's not really a war. Russia could have won that long time if that was a war. They're not destroying the fields where the wheat is growing. They're not destroying where the oil fields are. They're not destroying where a large population of people are. They're taking strategic strikes on infrastructure in Ukraine. You understand? But they're letting the country still sell their grains and stuff like that around the world. If you recall, a few months back, when wheat, barley, and stuff like that couldn't move, it's because of what Vladimir Putin called military exercise. But the flow of products that Ukraine was producing with some of the high grain, wheat, and stuff like that, couldn't get out because of the blockade that Russia did. And both parties, Ukraine, Russia, United Nations, come to agreement where they would allow some of the shipments of produce go around the world, and that's what's really going on. So stuff like that. And now we're seeing DHL and the Prime Minister now is saying that in order to curb the high prices of inflation in the country, the government is doing a pilot project, means they experiment. But I told the general public a long time ago, I could always remember the connection we had with Haiti, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and how we had so much different products coming in the country from these particular islands in the Caribbean. So that's why the Caribbean is supposed to be in one in the first place, because we could stop some of the infiltration if we were working with Jamaica, if we were working with Haiti, Dominican Republic, and because each one of these Pacific Caribbean countries have some value to offer to each one of us. Combining having their products in our country, this alone, based on the fact that our dollar for dollar is the highest in the Western Hemisphere, that means we would be 1,000% more luckier to have lower prices because our money is valued dollar for dollar with the U.S. So if we were to do these things like how we used to did back in the 70s and 80s, then definitely we wouldn't be in the position we're in now. But this is a step in the right direction again. We up again, reinventing the wheel again. This is all they're doing. But this is a step in the right direction. You got to give the government credit for that. And I also want Bahamian people to take advantage of this as also. Because he's talking stuff like bulk purchases, like going to Brazil, where their corned beef is corned beef, okay? And you could order your stuff in bulk. The Chinese is order that stuff in bulk, okay? So if you order stuff in bulk is like this, okay? Just say I open a bar, okay? And I buy 10 cases of beer, okay? That is not a bulk. So I buy 10 cases of beer. I really can't sell my beers at a cheap price because, I'm looking to make a profit. But if I say to myself, look, I have $5,000, right? I want a bulk of beer. So when you get this bulk of beer, it's like, anyway, let's say it's 1,000 cases of beer, okay? You can make your money back with half of that bulk. So that's why your beers could be cheap. Some people could sell 3 for $5 or 3 for $6 because you have it in bulk, If you go to the Chinese and you go buy a razor, just to shave your face, one of those razor shaver. And it costs $1. Now watch this bulk again. When you go in the store, I watch this. My friend told me you're going to spend $1 for one shaver, but a pack of 12 only costs $2.20. You understand? Listen now. Listen, people. Listen what I'm trying to explain to you. One of the shaver costs $1, right? $1. A pack of shavers for at least, I think, 8 or 12 in it, if I'm correct, right? With 8 or 12 in it, costs only $2 something. I mean, 2 or 3, close to $3. So 3 of them already is done. The money you spend you already spent. So when you spend your $3, you're looking to make that in profit. Right? I mean, now it's $1. So if 10 or 12 in it, just say I can't remember if it's 9 or 12. I can't remember, but I know it was more than 7 or 8 that comes in the box. Either way, if it's 8, that means you make $5 profit. You understand? So things like that. Travel the world. Use some of the ideas that government is giving you and travel the world and buy your stuff in bulk. Buy your tennis in bulk. Buy your rice in bulk. Buy your fruits in bulk, and bring back and you can sell cheaper here in the country. That's all. We're going to take this call. Go ahead, caller. You're on Inside the Inner City.
Hey, yeah, pleasant good afternoon, good evening. Scrooge, I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well, and good evening to you as well, sir. Hope you're doing all right.
I am good. Thanks be to God. Scrooge, I sat down there listening when you were speaking earlier, trying to call in, but the phone was acting up.
Yes, sir.
I was really getting goosebumps, man.
Wow.
And I think, there's a saying that everybody has a story, but this one must be told. I think your story needs to be told, Scrooge.
Yes, sir.
And I'm hoping that somehow the message that you're trying to convey to those young guys who may be involved in that type of lifestyle, will get through to them. Because a lot of times, you talk and you give them advice, and they end up doing what they want to do.
Yes, sir.
And I don't know why you are not a consultant to the Ministry of Youth, man. It's people like you all and part of the pastor, what the pastor name on by Tucker Road there. What do you name?
College Reed?
Yeah, Carlos Reed and all those persons who were involved in those gang activities and whatnot, trying to get the message out to these young men.
Yes, sir.
Just listening to the news this evening, a 16-year-old.
Yes.
charged with murder.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
A 16-year-old.
Yes.
That child. How does a 16-year-old, 14, 15-year-old get involved in these things? And obviously, there's a breakdown in the home. The community is not like it used to be back in the day and whatnot. But we have to find a way. I know the government, but they are. What they say, bill hole or something like that. Whatever they say.
The program
that they have. I don't know how effective that is. I don't know if it's working, but I want to commend the government for the opportunities that it has out there for individuals.
Yes.
But the issue is that, Scrooge, a lot of these things requires
time,
certain level of education. Which
yes.
These people, a lot of them have dropped out of school.
Yes.
A lot of them,
Yes,
so
sir.
It don't really apply to them.
Yes,
like
sir. Yes, sir.
The guy at the one time who was from they're having something down in Angliston,
Not interested.
we need to meet these young guys where they are.
Yes.
A lot of them don't even have passports.
None of your stuff.
Of documents that they,
They can't even fill out a application.
An application. And so, yes, you have the programs, but it's not meeting it's not getting the people who need it really most.
Yes, sir.
They're not getting it.
Yes, sir.
They need, like I said, and this is really 52 ideas, is to bring BTVI into the community.
Yes,
and train these young guys.
Yes.
Take them, because, for them to get up and go these places, they got to find money, they got to find clothes, they got to find whatever, But if you get the community involved with the churches and teach the young guys a trade and show them opportunities and whatnot, it'll make a difference.
Yes, sir.
And these MPs who getting this constituency allowances, and those things should be used for programs like that.
It's great,
to help go into every, and the MP should know every person in their constituency, get to know them.
By helping,
if they're working, who lives in the house, and so but listen.
Having community functions, having community functions in the area brings people out. That's how the MP get to meet everyone with functions, sports, and church activities, and that you get to meet everyone in the community. You know their problems.
And, get to know, especially in those areas, because most of these constituencies, the demographics are different. You have some of the inner cities, some of the middle class and the well-to-do, but it's really the inner city areas that are represented by these MPs that they need to concentrate more on in order to reduce this level of criminality in our society. But listen, let me encourage you, and I know God has brought you to the kingdom for such a time as this, and continue to use your voice and your platform for the betterment of our country, man.
Yes, sir.
And thank you, and you have a great night, buddy.
Yes, sir. Thank you as well, sir, and thanks for the word of confidence. And we need people like who just calling us now, who giving you a word of advice, and that's what we need, people who care about the country and understand what the country's problem is, and he gave a few pointers on what we need to do to better the country. If you listen to my friend who called in earlier, he said the same thing similar, and everything I talk about is about empowering people in this country, because I know very well if we don't change the dynamics of the community, bring back the family structure, and be able to also bring a community that's self-sufficient, small businesses, BTVI, scholarships. We having people who are consistent in the community, who have different activities going on where we could get them their stipends to do their program year-round, and they have to be people who are people's people, who are not biased towards people or don't like nobody and don't want to work with that person. Anyone could tell you in the community that I live in Newer Street, Hay Street, and Taylor Street. You're not going to get a bad report from me from nobody who live in that community, because I do my best. I do my best to see how I can make an impact in my community. There are not one person would call on this radio, and you're talking about hundreds of people who live in my community and would never badmouth me. And I truly believe that, because people know that I care about my community. It's not about the money. And I've been doing this for over close to 30 years, people. You understand? Because I'm passionate enough to see what the problem is. I know we could fix the problem. But we have to invest seriously in our country. And I want to encourage people to look at some of these government programs, okay? And use it to your benefit. Go around, use this program that the government is using for pilot projects, and go and order your stuff in bulks and then sell it back to the Bahamian people at a cheap price. See, if you buy in bulks, you could sell cheap. You won't be so expensive, because you can't open a convenience store and you want to sell a soda for close to $2. You understand? But if you buy it in bulk, see, if you buying a soda in 5 cases or something like that, you would sell it for $2. Okay, but if you buy it in bulk, you might could sell it for $1.50. And people come to you more. As more people would come to you, because you're cheaper. But if you're more expensive, people go out elsewhere. That's why the Chinese is cheap. So we got to be more creative. And I just want you to go and buy yourself like bulks, people. Like what the government suggested. We can play the next clip, please. And thanks to all the callers who called in tonight and for the word of thanks, word of confidence.
There were no changes in this particular position, but again, we will wait whilst investigations or whilst the matters are continued to be looked at by the experts, and then they advise us. Then we will go on the advice of the experts in this field. I heard that the former minister had some words to say, but I don't think it's to be taken seriously based on the fact that I don't see any recent activity from him, and the last thing people remember was the 2 birds and a goat. So we don't take it as a joke when we explore these aspects that can affect people's lives, and our administration will remain very serious with these type of things. So I don't really follow what the former minister would have had to say concerning any science, because his rhetoric recently, most remembered, wasn't based on any particular science.
And I was talking, and this is just something that I wanted to talk about a little bit, concerning global warming, I like to read. I like to watch National Geographic and listen to David Attenborough, who's the number one person in the world who talks about global warming. The Bahamas government just recently, I think, signed an agreement with space. What's that? With what's the space program name now? SpaceX, yeah, SpaceX. That's Elon Musk, right? With Elon Musk. And, we talk about global warming and climate change and all those stuff, And, we probably signed an agreement for them to orbit their spaceship into orbit, and then re-entry and land back in the Bahamas. And then just recently, we saw, about 3 weeks ago, we saw an explosion of, debris spreading across the Bahamas, especially around the Exuma Keys, and et cetera. And, we were having this discussion, so me and some of the boys, me and Smokey them and Blipper them, I just go by the bar like when they come from off the show, because, I still just be talking to the younger guys in the community, because you have to be able to associate with people in order to know how they are feeling in the community and what their response is to what's happening in the country, and for you to be updated, because like I said, I'm a bystander now. But I still like with the young guys in the community because they still look up to me. So this is how I get my information on what needs to happen and if anything changed. So, there was the explosion, so we had this discussion. So some people saying meteor. I say, man, come on, man, you guys, man. You always watch all the movies. I said, that's space debris. I say, probably that's a rocket going up or a space satellite that was up in orbit for about 20, 30 years, and eventually it has to come down to Earth. And the Bahamas is one of the few places in the world that basically all of these objects is landing to. If you watch every movie, you would see they all talking about orbit landing or re-entry and going to land in the Bahamas. So it's nothing new. The Bahamas is a very special place. So yeah, and we had this discussion. I say, okay, watch when tomorrow come. So everyone's saying that's a meteor. I say, hold on, boy, if that was a meteor, I say, if that's a certain size, say a meteor of certain size would hit the Earth like a nuclear weapon. And I say, if it's a big one, it could actually destroy the Earth, with the force and the magnitude and with the speed and the velocity that it would hit the Earth with. I say, man, we'd be probably destroyed. So I said, that's space debris. I said, it's one of those satellites up in space probably explode, or the rocket that Elon Musk put up in the space malfunction. And just like I said, the next day, they said that there was 2 rockets that exploded in orbit, and the debris spread in the Exuma Keys and certain places around the whole Bahamas. Right? Now, we're talking about Prime Minister's suggestion, talking about global change, and he's suggesting certain things that we have to implement to do global change and climate change, global change or climate change, basically, right? But yet still, we are allowing our atmosphere to be breached by rockets that break through the ozone layer. And this has been proven that this leads to climate change, because when you break through the ozone layer, the sun rays that is protected by the ozone layer is crack like a bubble, because we ain't hit the stratosphere yet, right? Okay? So when you break through, air rays come through, and those rays can be radiation, and you don't know what comes from the space, because they're saying that a lot of organisms that are in the sea now are not from Earth, but from space debris that came from space, and the Earth is a woman. So life comes from space. Life is out there. I don't mind them saying no life out there. Life is out there. Okay? I mean no human or nothing. But I mean as life, microorganism, life that comes through the atmosphere. How many movies have we watched? Aliens and all this stuff, and when they land, these meteor land, it's either some type of raw metal, like Excalibur, that came from the meteor. You watch Hercules, you watch a lot of movies, you see these things, you watch movies like science fiction movie with alien, you'd see where the meteorite comes through, it burns through the atmosphere, but the germs is not killing. When it hit a certain spot, you would see where it turns into some type of alien or some type of plant or some type of something that comes to destroy the Earth. They even saying that octopus is not from Earth, that it came from space and, and stuff like that. But we don't know what comes from the space. But they know what comes from the space. So even that alone, when the Prime Minister talking about global change and climate change, we allowed ourselves to be duped into allowing our atmosphere to be breached. And you don't know what we're going to let in our atmosphere. You don't know the fuel that is burning, how it contaminates our waters. It's scratched from miles and miles. We don't know. We don't know the pollution that is going to land in our waters because of this SpaceX expedition that they want to do in the country. Mind you, the government, they look enticing to the country. The government is the government. We don't know when these deals were signed. And truly, I don't think the government really knows the damage that they're actually doing. I don't think they're intentionally doing it. I just think it's because, that SpaceX, that's Elon Musk, and it'd be great for us as a country. It'd be great for tourism, as it was, but it's also devastating to our ecosystem because we don't know what has been damaged. Okay? So even slightest. So things like that, even though we don't mean no harm, all is leading to global warming and climate change because of man and the stupidity of man. Could we play the next clip, please? So some things we don't need to do in the country. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
This is a thermal camera, and it will tell me the difference between the surrounding temperature and the temperature in the center of a daisy flower.
Action, David. If you get up and walk away as if you were going back to that tree.
The world depends upon plants, and we treat them with so little thought and so little care, and exterminate them without little thought or care. And we will pay the price. The vine tightens its grip and begins to haul itself upwards. The vine's hooks just can't get a hold. The interesting thing is we now have a camera which allows us to actually explore the surface of a plant in great detail. So it's like moving into a different landscape. Suddenly this thing is a huge, great thing, and you suddenly see it for what it is. This is a battlefield. You can build up a sequence into a real drama, so you really feel that that particular plant is hell-bent on strangling some other plant, which they often are, of course. I think it would be really catastrophic if the developed nations of the world, the more powerful nations of the world, simply ignored these problems. Do we say, it's nothing to do with us and cross our arms? We caused it. Our kind of industrialization is one of the major factors in producing this change in climate. So we have a moral responsibility, even if we didn't cause it. We would have a moral responsibility to do something about thousands of men, women, and children who have lost everything.
I watched you filming almost non-stop for 5 hours this morning. You're 95. It's an incredibly impressive sight. What are you planning next?
Well, I don't plan very far ahead. As you say, I'm 95. How long can you go on? It isn't within our gift to say those things or to know those things. All I know is that if I get up tomorrow and I feel that I'm able to do a decent day's work, then I should jolly well do it and be grateful. In the morning, the day is going to come when I'm going to get out of bed and say, I don't think I can do that. When that's going to be, who knows? At the moment, I feel it would be a waste of an opportunity just to back out and not do the things that I think are very important to do and which I am well placed to do.
Yeah, I just want to comment. That is Mr. Adenberg, all right? And I want you all to go punch him, but when he talk about global warming and climate change, and he is 95 years of age, David Attenborough, and he is the leading, what you can say, most experienced person in the world, and he talks to the whole entire world governments. And we were talking about Brazil a little earlier, and like I said, and Brazil is one of the places that also is leading the climate change because of the industrial deforestation of the Amazon rainforest in Brazil. Because of the trees they're cutting down and the habitat they're destroying all the animals, and each animal plays a very important role in the ecosystem. So, and that's because of logging and grid. And there's so much different plants and stuff, or organism in the Amazon rainforest that it produces so much oxygen that supplies the world. Also the sea has trees in it as well. So we're describing all of these things, and we're talking about global warming. And like I said, it's man-made. It's because we are burning fossil fuel. I'm really applauded the government of the Bahamas is really trying to bring down the cost of the electricity bill in the country on behalf of the Bahamian people. They also, what they're doing now, they signed an agreement that is being talked about by the opposition, where they're saying that, come clean with the deal why Bahamian people were was not able to invest in this company. Let me get information. Okay, where at it just now? Okay, 1 second. I got a few more minutes. Okay, let's see if I can find it quick. Yeah. So this, yeah. Okay. They're talking about the failed BPL land deal was under F for them. They're taking shots at one another. So Prime Minister denied Bahamas losing $7 million in the land deal on Wednesday. Minister of Energy, Roberta Colby Davis, said the Free National Movement administration was to blame for the loss, but opposition leader Michael Pintar denied this and said it was the PLP administration's fault as the deal was scheduled to close on December 30th, 2021. When asked to respond to Pintar's association under the PLP, I wish you all would call him out with the facts. Come out, because Mr. Pentard is known to make accusation, and then when the facts come out, the facts are stated, but no one comments on it. So I hope when you look at the facts and find out it's the truth, that is under their watch, that they executed an agreement to sell land, paid $7 million as a deposit, and we still have not gotten it back yet. You see, that's what happened under the watch, and I hope you call him out for that. Ask whether there are efforts to regather the $7 million or pay the remaining $7 million that we owed for the land. The Prime Minister said the lawyers have been discussing it and looking in it, but he said he did not. Okay, I'm trying to find out what's the name of the company. Man, I had to read in the newspaper. Okay, all right. But anyway, man, they're gone, man. Oh, that's LNG, right? Move for the country. So the LNG deal, right? Is it the right move for the country? Tell you the truth, it's a step in the right direction. It might not be the right move, but we need to head in some type of direction. We got to start somewhere. They're looking to go solar to bring the cost of living down for Bahamian business owners and Bahamian families, so that the cost of electricity can go down, and also to bring down carbon emission. And this is also a part of the plan to make less carbon emissions so that we can fight climate change that is occurring in the world. And it's because of fossil fuel. So if we can find a way to reduce our burning of fossil fuels like oil and gasoline and go more pure energy like solar, I think that'd be a step in the right direction because we would be slowing down the damage that we're doing to Mother Earth in the country. And these are some of the recommendations that the Prime Minister is doing and the government is doing. And I think this is a step in the right direction. I know it's close to the election. I see they're walking around in both PLP and F&M. This is a back and forth scenario. But the government is doing some good stuff. Besides the uproar concerning the Royal Bahamas Police Force and government officials being not being identified, but in secret, the U.S. government is holding back credible information concerning the matters of former Chief Superintendent ASP Curtis, former Defense Force officers, and a few others that, and it seems, boy, that's someone on the line? Yeah, so Curtis and et cetera, and now that Curtis is looking to make a plea deal, and his lawyer on his behalf has requested a 60-day delay in the trial so that they can find a way where they can come to a plea agreement so they don't go to trial. So a lot of people's names are going to be called. And in this instance, we saw a lot of corruption from the very top, and many people were dissatisfied in the slow response of the government, and that's still fresh in BMN's mind and ass, because, when scandals concerning your law enforcement agency and your defense force agency, and then you have some hint about government officials who could be involved. So with these things in mind, the government is trying their best to make the burden of infiltration, trying to lower the cost of food, bringing programs like a pilot project that deals with going abroad in places like Brazil and Latin America to get cheaper stuff here to the country so that the small convenience stores can reduce their prices down to a feasible amount. It's way less expensive than the current price right now concerning the eggs and stuff like that. So these kind of initiatives are good. We're going to take this last call. Go ahead, caller. You're on Inside the Inner City.
Yeah, it's Bob in Scrooge.
Hey, what you say, 52?
I had the family out somewhere. He's just coming and doing it for the party.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you called. Last couple of minutes for you. Go ahead.
Climate change.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
As it relates to, I don't want to talk about the situation.
Okay.
The gentleman, you know what I mean? Because just people are still going to court for little minuscule amounts of weed, and the officers are still moving around without cameras and doing, but you know what I mean? So we're fighting a losing battle. But what I wanted to touch on was the complexity of the science, really, for somebody who knows just even a little, right, about it, right? So firstly, we would know that there was climate, but it has always occurred naturally also.
Yes, man-made.
Yeah, but it was climate. Yeah, but it's also like it occurred naturally. Let's say volcano activity.
Yes. When it go up in there.
Orbit variations and solar radiation.
Yes.
People who study physics, they could say this, but it's something called orbital deviances that Mr. Aaron Green called planetary shift, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or whether some people call it as that. So it's not like the Earth is perfect and it's revolving around the sun. So this is not some science that I made up, but a complexity too. But see, what I'm saying is CO2 wouldn't be the problem. What happens is when you go and plant in a greenhouse environment, you just go and Google how much parts per million plants thrive under, and way above 400 parts per million. Some plants, tomatoes, the cannabis itself, thrive between 800 to 1,200 parts per ppm. But what I wanted to say is that carbon dioxide was ever here, but it's the scapegoat because like all things, carbon is involved in all the reactions in the combustion.
Yes.
So then this is why the geniuses sat down and decided that they would tax carbon. Letting people burn carbon from trees and burn down the trees, etc. It's the same. It's carbon. It's carbon. It's carbon. But God had the original carbon that would be carboniferous. So scientists can tell, not me, because I don't have the machines to do it, but I know of it. They can tell the difference between man-made, anthropogenic, and carboniferous carbon, from rocks. So this is why they do carbon dating and try to keep explaining this to people over and over. So they won't be able to say that, but you tax it. Me and you breathe out carbon dioxide. They tax it, me and you. All I'm saying is, complexity is too complex for the public to buy in to the narratives being fed. Also go and look into something called climate gate. It's a suppression, and it really is unfair to the person, but I can let someone send me a copy of this thing with the Prime Minister, what they say, the carbon emissions credit, some thing to deal with carbon emissions, etc.
Yes.
Carbon emissions arc or whatever. I'll go and read it before I even comment on it, but it's still, like I say, if you still allowing deforestation in your country,
there you go.
still selling coal and buses,
Still selling coal, you're a problem.
Diesel, the black smoke from the diesel, you know what that means, Susie?
What's that mean?
That means that there's not enough air and the fuel is burning too rich.
Yes.
So it's putting out more carbon monoxide.
What about the cruise ship? In the ports?
So, but in some ports, but they have been burning boiler engines within the confines of the
Why? Why?
But, because of the sulfur content and some other other greenhouse gases pose more problem than carbon dioxide. Carbon is the source of all life.
And this is.
But most imbeciles wouldn't know that. But what happened is, for the little I know enough that they can't dupe me. That's why. The threshold of knowledge challenge them on any forum because the facts, and then people have Google so they can fact check.
So
not that I believe in all the fact checkers could be sort of fact checkers and telling them lies.
So 50 minutes, you can come with 30 seconds, please.
Yeah, give thanks, Scrooge.
No, I'm saying that you're just give me 30 seconds. I just want to respond to something real quick. So if the Prime Minister is talking about climate change, right? And why doesn't he have the research to show us that the cruise ship that we have in the ports are one of the main reasons of climate change is he's not talking about that specifically. We also have deforestation you're talking about. We're also talking about some development that's going around in the country. I see a petition where some people said they don't want this development to happen because it would be damaging the ecosystem. So all this here that the Prime Minister is talking about, all these things here are one of the reasons we're having this problem because, like you said, some are natural phenomena and some are man-made. The Prime Minister didn't speak on none of these issues when he's talking about climate change because he never talked about the emission of the cruise ship. See, when you're talking as a leader of the country and you're talking about these things on a national stage, you have to look at it.
He's not. I understand it. Yeah, but Scrooge, you're not cutting you off.
Go
But
ahead.
something you said I wanted to comment on.
Go ahead.
Talking about SpaceX, right?
Go ahead.
You were totally correct because the thing is, you how could you see with science you cannot arrive at a conclusive study or a deduction or a quick in any which event to say it like some guy was on the other day saying it's safe, it's in Earth.
How you know it's safe?
What's in Earth? I mean, I understand like because I did chemistry, I know what an Earth means, but
Isn't
I mean then something is because it's irretrievable. Then you want to see me as if there's going to be no environmental damage.
Of course, there's going to be environmental damage.
It mightn't be now, it may be later. Just like I make the joke, right? I never got poisoned from barracuda before.
Yeah.
But and I always pride on that. But I said I don't eat them too big. But the fellow was showing me what has happened. I could still end up eating one. But I said that we didn't. I said we as humans poisoned them first.
Yeah. Yes, because they eat the thing off the boat and the nuclear waste that we put. I want people to know this. Do they know that in the Bahamas, the nuclear waste from the United States of America was dropped in the Bahamian waters that is leaking right now?
Or you could go and Google and find
And it's leaking right now in the Bahamian waters, the Bahamas water right now?
Yeah, you could go and look at it. You could just go and look at it.
Okay, then.
One is off. They got about one or two off the eastern seaboard of Georgia, and then Georgia area, and some should be somewhere in the Bahamas and Florida area.
Yeah, but they put the cement in it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The fact that these things were hidden and shrouded in secrecy. Me and you, we are always unwittingly, because of capitalism, right? Because you're part of being a guinea pig. Whether it be SpaceX, we don't know what's next.
Right.
Give thanks.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, R52. And that's the thing I'm talking about. See, the Prime Minister is speaking on it, right? But he's not identifying the problems. And the problem is, I'm a citizen, but I can tell you where the carbon emission is coming from. I can tell you what's causing global warming, right? The cruise ships, their emissions, Graham always talk about this, the pollution. We're talking about cutting down trees. We're talking about digging out these trenches where mangroves is in the country. We ain't even supposed to be moving no mangroves, unless unless we go do research and say, we could take a chance with little piece right here. But the better resort to go and damage the reefs, to go and do deforestation because you want to build a hotel and stuff like that. All these things lead to climate change, man-made. Okay? People talking about the Bahamas would be underwater in the next 100 years. You show me what statistic could show you that the Bahamas will be under the water. You show me. You tell me. The Father said, God said he never flood the earth ever again. The Bahamas is growing out the water. Go and look, people. I used to go and do my research and do background check. We are on a mountain, people. Listen to me. The Great Flood was true. We on a mountain. The Bahamas on a mountain, okay? We on a mountain. Little piece of land that you see poking out. Cat Island is the highest point in the Bahamas. And that is on the mountain top. People don't understand. Go Google and look at the Bahamas. We are on the mountain top, people. The Great Flood that happened is true, okay? And God says he's not going to flood the earth. The ice that is melting in Antarctica is because it's time, and also because of the global emission of burning fossil fuels, planes, cars, coal, nuclear reactors, and stuff that is going up in the atmosphere and melting ice. But at the end of the day, God still is in power, and he says he's not going to destroy the earth with water ever again. So I'm not concerned about no global warming or no etc. I'm concerned about the animals. I'm concerned about the trees. If we're talking about global warming and emission and stuff that we need to focus on, the Prime Minister is supposed to state certain things when he talked about what is causing global warming and the cruise ships, deforestation, killing the animals. Do you know that the whale, just like the bees, if all the bees die in the world, the earth dead. If the whales in the ocean are the conveyor belts of the ocean. They make the ocean spin. Whales, people, that's why I like to watch David Attenborough. And they are part also of global warming. They're important. We hunt the whales. Did you know that? When he talked about in America, you know why the coal came around? The coal came around because the native Indians who were there, they went with nature. They didn't cut certain trees. They only killed certain animals for certain meat. But when the Europeans arrived, they started to cut down all the trees. And when they cut down all the trees in America, the coal came. Okay? That's man-made. And this is in the movies. They show you when the Europeans hit land in America, the indigenous people there had a strict balance and respect for nature. But when the European came, they started to chop down all the trees, kill all the bears, kill all the wolf. Started to kill. Then you look, they brought winter. Because without the trees gone, without the animals gone, there's no more stability. You understand? So check it out, people. Just man destroys it on himself. Okay? So it's good that we're going away from gas and diesel. I hope that we continue to go down this path. But like again, it takes the leaders from all around the world. If they want to stop global warming, they have to stop deforestation. They have to stop making wood. There's an alternative. Marijuana is a better alternative for certain wood. Okay? Be taking the oil from old Mother Earth that lubricates the earth, which is the conveyor belt as well, that lubricates the earth. And we're chucking holes in the earth and sucking millions and millions and millions of gallons of oil out Mother Earth. All this year is leading to global warming and climate change. We are killing the earth. That's why they're trying to look to go to the space. Elon Musk, them trying to go to the space so they can duck this judgment because they know they're destroying the earth. So it's up to us as citizens who are part of the earth. That's why I like to watch Captain Planet. All these things were on Captain Planet, okay? So I want some of you who have the time, just watch David Attenborough, and you'll see how he talk about climate change. He's one of the greatest persons in the world. He cares about the world more than anyone. And I love persons like that who are passionate and care about the world. And he's one of them. Okay? So again, I'm your host, Valentino Brown. host of the talk show Inside the Inner City that premieres every Friday at 6:30 p.m. Thank you very much for listening. I want to give a shout out to my friend Elroy Price and his friend Max Price. Max Pratt. I was supposed to give a shout out last week, but Elroy sent it to me late. But I want to say a special request again to my friend Elroy Price and Mr. Max Pratt. Okay? And to all the callers who called in tonight, you guys did a wonderful job. Okay? And I thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. And I'll see you next week if God's